Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Good evening. So let's wait for a few people to get in here, and then I'm going to have a brief conversation with everyone. I think that, we're going to have a bit of a brief conversation today. Just share some things that I've kind of noticed and been paying attention to, kind of been analyzing, and I want to share it with the community. So let's let a few people get in here, and then we're gonna go ahead and have a talk. What's up, Chris? How you doing? It's funny. Today's actually my birthday. I'm a fresh 36. So I decided that I just worked. That's what I did today. I worked. But that's the nature of things, and so I figure, this evening, I got a little time on my hands right at the moment. So I just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and get started because this is a video I'm going to save actually. So, with that in mind, I think that, oh, thank you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you. But yeah, I'm going to save this video. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. So, COVID has been a lot of things for a lot of people. And the running theme that I've been hearing is that for a lot of people, it hasn't been a good situation. It really hasn't. A lot of things have happened this year. A lot of people are struggling and worried. And, to a certain degree, I can understand that. I think it's justifiable. I guess it's however you look at the situation. Thank you. Charlotte, I appreciate that. But I think that it's overall COVID, the way you look at COVID is kind of the way that, it's the way you look at things, right? So it's the way that the way you look at it. And how you look at it will determine, how it plays out for you. But I talk post-COVID now, right? See, from doing my research, and from really analyzing this situation and looking at the economics behind everything, kind of looking at, the way businesses are moving, the way the educational system is moving at this point, I've come to a realization. And it's something that I want to talk about because I think that it's very important that our community not miss this and kind of begin to pivot and prepare for what post-COVID is going to really be looking like from a business standpoint and from an employment standpoint, right? I think that's very, very important. So, technology, the advancement of technology has made a lot of things possible. And what I find is in our community, we usually lag behind the overall economic and technological and business kind of advances that happen. And because of that, we're usually late to the table. And this is not a time to be late to the table, right? So, when you look at business, one of the things that technology has opened the door for is a lot of online type businesses, a lot of automation, a lot of kind of streamlining business practices. And with that, a lot of cutting edge companies pre-COVID, were able to cut down their staff quite considerably through, technological advances, automation, AI, chat bots, things like that, automated scheduling, a lot of things like that. So a lot of these cutting edge businesses that were very cutting edge pre-COVID, were able to do those things and save themselves quite a bit of money in payroll expenses and payroll taxes and able to widen their profit margins because of that, right? Now, COVID forced businesses to pay attention to what is possible. It forced businesses to pivot. It forced businesses to look at new and innovative ways to be able to do business simply from the need to figure it out so they could stay in business, right? So a lot of businesses, when COVID first started, took some major hits to their balance sheets. You know, the restaurant industry, travel industry, you know, to a certain extent, the healthcare industry, you know, the renewable energy industry, the real estate industry. A lot of industries took some hits, you know, at the beginning of COVID. But, you know, in business, it's survival of the fittest, right? Business is always a survival of the fittest kind of game, right? So those who can figure it out will thrive. They will survive, and sometimes they will thrive. And other businesses will go out of business. And we saw a lot of that since COVID has started. There have been a lot of businesses, small businesses especially, that have gone out of business. And this is something that has hit the African American community really, really, really hard, right? You have no idea how many hair salons and barbershops in our community went out of business, restaurants that went out of business simply because they could not pivot and adjust fast enough, right, to keep up with what was happening because of COVID. They were not able to put the processes in place to be able to survive through COVID, right? And that's very unfortunate. You know, in this respect, we're very much a free enterprise market whereby when businesses go out of business, you know, other businesses are able to pick up that market share and expand and scale a little bit more because a business goes out of business, and customers that were used to going to that business have to look for a new place to go. So how does this affect you? What you will notice from federal to state to municipal governments to small businesses to large businesses, businesses that have been able to survive have figured out how to move their business more online, how to automate more, and how to do virtual business, and how to be able to transition people who came into the office Monday through Friday, you know, every workday, how to transition them into a home-based environment and still be able to maintain the quality of employment and the quality of services that those employees have provided for that company, right? You see this in all facets of the economic and business life cycle at this point. Businesses that were able to figure that out have been able to survive. And some have been able to thrive. So with that, there is a realization that has happened, you know, on a global scale from a business standpoint. They've realized that they've opened their eyes and realized that a lot of what they had staff to do, they really didn't need staff for. COVID has taught businesses that. COVID has taught businesses that you get the same quality of work product from somebody at home that you can from somebody in the office. COVID taught that. COVID taught businesses that you can have all of your meetings via Microsoft Teams or Zoom and still survive and thrive, still do business, still close deals, still sell products, still sell services, etc., right? Businesses figured out how to go digital. And what that means is that where unemployment is really high right now, post-COVID, a lot of jobs that were available before won't be coming back to the market. That's reality. A lot of these jobs that COVID eliminated and companies figured out how to work around and offset, right, are not coming back. Some of these customer service positions, you know, some of these, you know, data entry positions, some of these scheduling positions like administrative assistants, a lot of companies aren't going to be looking for that anymore because they found an alternative means to be able to do the same level of business that they have been doing, right? And provide the same quality of service to their customers without the need for a human person in that process. And so what you have to understand at this point, and what you have to be pivoting towards, is the reality that if you were in one of those types of job positions, right, you may not have a job to come back to post-COVID. And so this is a time, COVID is a time to develop new skills, to be able to keep yourself marketable and employable in a new economic environment, in a new business environment. This is a good time to begin to put the framework in place and to begin to strategize your own business and how to create a product or service that is going to be a benefit and create some income for you. As business has progressed, as businesses have pivoted, so you need to pivot as well. That is a reality. Because if you cannot pivot, you will find yourself unemployed. You will find yourself with less hours at a job where you may have been working, 40 hours a week. You may find yourself only working 20 hours a week. You know what I mean? The money that you used to be making, you're not going to be making anymore, if you even find a job. Also, what you're going to see a lot more of post-COVID are home-based employment opportunities, work from home positions. So you need to start gearing your mind to apply for jobs that are work from home positions. See, what a lot of businesses have figured out is that if I can keep my employees at home, right? If I can keep more of my employees at home, then I don't need such a big office space. I can downsize my office space, thereby cutting my lease payment, and that money can now be used for marketing or, more products, more product research, R&D, things like that are going to put more money in my pockets, more money into the business. It's going to drive revenue. So companies are going to be able to free up cash flow that was tied up in long-term leases and put that money into other areas that are going to help them, right? So the ability to understand, the reality that you're going to have to work from home, that you're going to have to start looking for jobs that are home-based, because a lot of jobs are going to be home-based at this point post-COVID, is a reality that you really need to be looking at, right? But, a lot of people that have been laid off, a lot of people that are unemployed because of COVID are definitely getting pandemic unemployment assistance. And if you're not, right, that is a grave mistake. I don't know why you wouldn't be. But this is money that you could really be using at this point to do market studies, to do research, to analyze what it is that you really want to be doing, to set up an incorporation, to incorporate an estate, to begin to put that framework in place to be able to be self-employed post-COVID in a business that's actually making money. See, it's easy to start a business in the United States. It takes a lot of work to make a business profitable. It takes a lot of time. For $250, you can have a business. If that business isn't generating any revenue, that doesn't really mean anything, right? You're just the CEO of nothing, right? Because a business with no revenue is nothing. A business with no net cash flow that you can take out and put in your pocket at the end of the day is nothing either, right? If you have, $3,000 in revenue a month and $3,000 in expenses, you still have zero. Nothing from nothing leaves nothing, right? So, this is something that, I wanted to talk about, and I wanted you guys to consider, because it's really important. And one of the things I'm going to be covering here shortly is corporate structure. In fact, if I can get with if I can get through bank accounts in 1 week with this Sunday, because that's what I'm going to be covering this Sunday. I'm going to be talking about different types of accounts. We're done with our credit series now, so I'm going to be moving on to the next thing. If I can get through all of that this Sunday, then the following Sunday I'm going to start on corporate structure, right? And I'm going to teach you what an LLC is, and I'm going to teach you what a C corporation is, teach you what an S corporation is, teach you these different things, right? And once we pass that, then we're going to move into business planning. How you write an effective business plan. How you think about your business plan. How you reverse into a business strategy instead of driving forward, right? You know, a lot of people move forward into a business plan instead of moving backwards, right? You start from your customer first and you work your way backwards. And, you know, that's understanding demographic, what your target demographic likes, what your target demographic can afford, you know, what other competitors in your space are offering for pricing. Is there enough margin for you to offer a discount pricing that undercuts the market so you can gain market share and some credibility, right? Because you don't have brand recognition, right? So there's a lot of things that we're going to talk about that are going to help you, you know, shift your mentality in the way that you structure a business strategy, right? So you always back your way into a business strategy. You don't go forward into that. You got to back your way into it, right? And if you reverse your way into all of your business ideas, all of your business strategies, all of your investing strategies, especially even in real estate, right? You back your way into a real transaction. You don't drive forward, and a lot of people tell you go find a house, and, you know, especially when they're teaching this, what they call wholesaling. Go buy a house, and then, you know, you can lock up the contract and then go find a buyer. It doesn't really make sense, right? You should go understand what your buyers are looking for first, and then you can find houses that fit their criteria so you have an easy exit, right? So, you know, you always start with the exit first, and then you work your way back into, you know, making sure that you have a product that fits the exit. So, you know, like, I always walk through the exit door first. I don't walk through the entrance door. I walk through the exit door first. And that's something that I'm going to teach you guys, right? To understand that, you know, the mentality in business is walking through the exit, not through the entrance. So, you know, but, you know, I just wanted to take a brief moment to kind of talk about that, you know, and address some concerns that people have. You know, this is the time, you know, this is one of those conversations where I actually really want to hear from you guys. Like, you know, I always ask you guys, you know, in my conversations, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, and, you know, people don't speak up, you know, like, and I'll tell you again, the only silly question is really the one that you don't ask, right? You can ask me anything. And, you know, if I can provide you an answer, you know, I'm going to provide it to you. And if I don't know, I'm honest enough to tell you that I don't know. But what I will do is go do the research, make some phone calls to some people that I know do know, right? And we're all going to learn something together, and we're all going to grow, because I'm going to come back on the live and then provide the answer, tell you where I got the answer from, direct you to it so you can find the answer too, right? And from there, we've all benefited, we've all learned together, we've all grown together. I don't know everything. I don't, right? But, you know, I'm never afraid to admit what I don't know. I will never spin you guys. I will never just make something up, pull it out of my hat. If I tell you something, it's factual from experience and knowledge. It's been well researched. It's been tried and true. It's been tested. I know it works, right? So that's kind of how it works. So guys, I want to hear from you guys tonight. Like, I know you guys have concerns because of COVID. You know, I know you guys are thinking about starting businesses in COVID, some of you. I know some of you guys may even be working on business models now. This is the time to ask some questions. Ask some questions. You know, it's my birthday, so this is how I'm gonna spend my birthday. I'm gonna spend it giving instead of getting. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really celebrate birthdays, really. To me, it's just I'm getting older and it's another day, right? You know, and my birthday fell on a weekday, so that's a work day for me. I need to be focused on the bag, right? So, you know, a happy day for me is I made some money. That's happy birthday. You know what I mean? But so please, guys, ask questions. This is your time. Please ask questions. Like, if you have a question, you know, no matter what it is, if it covers business, if it covers real estate, you want to talk about a strategy, you know, you want to talk about an idea you have, you know, we have, you know, probably another 45 minutes here. I'm open, you know, ask questions. So what sector of home-based business do you see as being profitable? Well, that's funny. Like, again, if COVID didn't teach anybody anything, it should have taught them that at this point in time, you can take anything home-based at this point. Honestly, you take just about anything home-based. What I find, and this is something that I might talk about at a later time. Thank you guys for the birthday wishes. Thank you so much. The renewable energy industry is the most profitable industry in the globe, globally right now. That's a fact. So, that's a fact. And that's something that I'm going to talk about much later. But yes. So, a profitable home-based business, I mean, that's hard to say because, I mean, any business can be profitable, right? If you have a good strategy, good execution model, and you're watching your COGS number, your cost of goods sold number. I mean, it could be something as silly as, and I know this is going to sound crazy, it could be something as silly as eyelashes. Like, you could literally bulk buy eyelashes right out of China, right out of India for 20 cents a pop if you buy enough of them. Then you can turn those things around for you could wholesale those things to other people for $2-3 a pop. They're going to turn and sell it for, $13-14. Like, you made your money. Like, you're a happy camper. Like, there's so many different things. Like, so it's not really what's most profitable as a business, as a home-based business. It's just because it's profitable for someone else doesn't mean it's going to be profitable for you, right? So the fact of the matter is, it's not about the home-based business. It's about your strategy. It's about your execution. It's about your understanding of what it is that you're trying to do. Should I start a lending business with $1,000 of my own money? If so, should I lend to small businesses? That's an excellent question, right? So, Chris, that's an excellent question. If you understand the concept of lending and securitization, you can never go broke. Ever. My advice to you is you can start $1,000. You can start lending with $1,000 with no problem. No problem. But the key is to make sure you collateralize that $1,000. The rule is 1.5 to 2 times what you're lending. Because it's, if you're lending to individuals or small businesses, you want 1.5 to 2 times, because I imagine this is going to be long-term interest. I mean, long-term loans, or are these going to be short-term loans? Because if they're short-term loans, you want 1.5 to 2 times, your principal in collateral. If they're long-term loans, and what I mean by long-term loans, or what we call medium-term is 5 years or better, but, 10 years or more is usually long-term. But, long-term for your standpoint is anything over a year. If you're doing anything over a year, then you want to start looking at 1.5 to 2 times the interest payment, but you still want to have some sort of collateral protection for your principal. Because remember, as I told you guys from the very beginning, the goal of investing is to maximize capital appreciation while mitigating its risk to its lowest common denominator. And what does that mean? I want to make as much money as I can while taking the least amount of risk possible. And in order to do that, you have to first be thinking about capital preservation. You want to know that in the worst case scenario, if all things go left, while nothing is guaranteed, that you have a greater than not likelihood of at least getting back what you initially put in, your principal. So if you've got $1,000 and you loan someone $1,000, you want to put risk mitigants in place to ensure that at minimum you're going to get that $1,000 back if all goes left, right? So if you take a collateral base of 1.5 to 2 times, right, not only are you going to get, in the worst case scenario, if you have to liquidate that, right, because they can't pay you back, at least you got not only your money back, but you got a rate of return on it too. And when I say value, I'm not saying, an appraised value per se. What I'm saying is a liquidation value. If you had to take it into a pawn shop or wherever you got to take it to sell it, you want to know what the minimum dollar is that you can get for that. You're concerned about liquidation value, not appraised value. The appraised value doesn't matter. Because when you want to get your money back, you want to get your money back quickly. You don't want to be holding an asset for a long period of time trying to get appraised value. You want to know what liquidation value is. When you're loaning money on your collateralized lending, I care about liquidation value. Because if I have to turn and sell that thing in 24, 48 hours, I want to know what the maximum dollar I can get for it in liquidation. And so if it's not 1.5 to 2 times that liquidation value, I probably don't want to talk about it. You also want to diversify, and while I'm on this subject, you want to diversify your lending base, right? So you don't want to concentrate $1,000 into one person because there's too much risk there, right? So that's too much risk, because if, even collateralize, yeah, you get the money back and everything, but, it's risky. What I'd rather do is see you take $100 and lend out $100 to 10 people. You've diversified away some risk, right? Because you've diversified your lending base. Lending is about diversification and loss ratios. So, it's very important that, you understand that, because if you have 1.5 to 2 times, the principal amount, from 10 different people, I mean, this can get quite profitable if everybody defaults. It's profitable if 3 people default. And again, it's short-term lending, and you're probably going to be lending to people that don't have good credit. So, there's a premium to that, right? So, of course, you want to start at like 13, 14% interest rates. You want to start there, 20% interest rates. It's a risk premium for the lending. So it's collateralized and it's expensive. So if they're borrowing that money, you're going to at least make, you're going to make 20% if they pay back. If they don't, you're going to make more because you can sell the asset at liquidation value. So that's very important. So thank you for the question, Chris. I hope I answered that sufficiently. I know that was a long answer, but there's a lot of things to consider there. What do you think the financial market, where do you think the financial markets are headed? I mean, all indications are there for a recession. I mean, and a pretty deep one at that. So, I mean, all the economic indicators are there for that. Let's be very clear about that. So, I see, unless the federal government is going to do something drastic, I see us heading into a pretty deep recession. It's going to hurt. Save your money. Invest your money. Start thinking about, emergency savings. Start thinking about investments. Start thinking about diversifying away some risk to be able to protect yourself in a recession, right? You got to be able to continue to generate cash flow when a lot of people aren't. And you want to be able to have some free cash flow too, because, in recessions, everything is cheap. So, they say when there's blood on the street, buy real estate, right? So that's true of most things, right? When the markets are hemorrhaging and the markets are bleeding, that's not the time that you need to be selling. That's the time that you need to be buying, right? You need to be buying up everything because everything comes to the market very, very cheap. So, that's my perception of what I see of the market. I see a recession. We've already begun recession, actually. I just think we're going to go into a deeper recession. Let's see. I see that there's a question in the box, but, I'm looking for it. Let me see. Okay, the question's not there anymore, so I don't know where it went. But are there any other questions? Anything else? Anyone else? Those are great questions, by the way. I think those are great questions. Is there anything else that anybody else wants to ask? This is the time. I got some time. I'm hanging out. All right, let me see. Okay, there we go. So yeah, that's. Anything else? This is the time. Like, please feel free to ask. Ask away. Like, this is the time. Ask away. No questions? Okay, so if there are no questions, I just wanted to put out that little bit of information right there. I'm not going to be on long. This was basically to put out a quick little thing. Give you guys something to think about, give you guys something to consider, and answer any questions that anybody had, relevant to this. Should I collateralize jewelry? Absolutely. Jewelry is the best thing to like, if you're doing short-term individualized loans, you cannot go wrong with jewelry if you understand how jewelry works. So you got to understand there's carat weight. So, you got to understand what carat weight looks like. You got to understand, you got to know how to do an assay test. That's important. You got to know how to do an assay test, because you got to be able to test that jewelry to make sure that, somebody could hand you a ring that's really, really heavy, and it looks like gold, and it's great, and you're ready to lend on that, right? But the reality of the situation is that it's not really gold. It's just gold plated. It's really silver, and it's wrapped in gold plate. There's not much value for that, right? So, never let the weight of a ring fool you. The first thing you look at, when you're collateralizing jewelry, I recommend diamonds and gold, right? Diamonds and gold. And that's what you really need to be focusing on, right? Because gold can be liquidated. And the cool thing about liquidating gold is the fact that, you can take it right to a refinery. Like, we have those here in New York, right? So we have jeweler, like, we have, the jewelry district, we have the diamond district. So you can liquidate anything there. But if you got to take that thing to a refinery, you can melt that thing down real quick and get you some quick cash for that. So that's really cool. But you got to really understand what you're looking at. And I can do a video, and I made a whole video on how, you value jewelry and how you value gold, right? Because gold is, when you're collateralizing, most people aren't going to bring you diamonds. They're going to bring you gold. And, you really want to understand how to look at that the right way. How to value that the right way, how to discount that the right way. You gotta be familiar with what today's gold price is, because, at your benchmark right there. And then you got to discount for, what the carat weight is. The weight of the ring doesn't even become a factor until you determine, first of all, if it's real gold. Second of all, what the carat weight really is on that gold. Is that, you got to understand penny weights. There's a few things to understand there, but I'd be more than happy to do a video on valuing gold and how you value gold. Like, it's a fairly simple process. It's actually a math formula for it. So, but yes, collateralizing jewelry, if you understand it, it's a very good way to do it. What's the first step to start an LLC? Well, first of all, you got to figure out what state you want to incorporate in. This is funny because I'm actually going to talk about this in a couple weeks. So, what's first step to starting an LLC? What state you going to incorporate in? Why are you going to incorporate in that state? Does it make sense to incorporate in that state? What are the states that provide the best the best anonymity and shareholder protection? So that's the first step, right? And then, the second step is actually forming the LLC. So that's paying the money to get incorporated. I always recommend bizfilings.com. I think bizfilings.com is great, right? So, and relatively inexpensive. So, so that's the first step. First step is determining what state you're going to incorporate in, right? Because just because you live, let's say, in Georgia or New York or wherever, doesn't mean you have to incorporate in that state. Oftentimes, it's not smart to incorporate. Like Georgia, I would never incorporate in Georgia. I would never incorporate in New York. I would never do it. For me, it's Delaware or Wyoming. That's it. Those are the only two options. And there are reasons for that. And those are reasons I'm going to get into when we talk about, corporate structure, right? We're going to talk about all of that stuff. But yes, so first is figuring out the state. Thank you for the question. Let's see. Yes, is this a good time to buy stocks? I guess that depends on the industry now, doesn't it? So, unless we're in a deep recession and the entire market is hemorrhaging, right? You can't just say, yes, it's an overall good time to buy stocks, right? So stocks and bonds have an inverse relationship to each other. The securities market overall has an inverse relationship to real estate, right? So usually when the bond market is doing well, it's because the stock market's not doing so well. So when the stock market's not doing well, people run into fixed income investments and gold. People like fixed income investments in gold. That's what they generally run into because they're pretty, they have safe, predictable returns. And so you'll see a run up on gold prices. So if you really want to know what's happening in the stock market and then where you are in the stock market, look at the gold price and just consider the gold price over the last 6 months. And if you see a steady run up on the gold price, then you know that there's an issue in the securities market and you might want to consider investing and buying stock, right? So, there are indicators, right? And so you got to kind of understand these indicators. What is the best structure for a real estate? For real estate, land trust? No, I wouldn't think so. A couple things, right? So First of all, what are you doing in real estate? Like, that matters, right? Are you buying to hold? Are you buying to flip? Are you doing wholesaling, which is nothing but an assignment of contract? Are you lending on real estate, right? So, are you running an originate to distribute model? Like, what are you doing? That matters, because that depends on how you're going to structure, right? At the end of the day, you're always going to set up a parent company structure, and don't worry, we're going to talk about that when we get into corporate structure, but you always want to set up a parent company structure. The one rule that I will always say that generally tends to remain consistent in real estate is, there's an LLC for each house. You have to have that. You have to segregate your limit of liability, right? You don't want to tie up 10 houses under one LLC, and then, one of the house burns down, and, like, somebody dies in the house because it was faulty electricity, and now you get sued. And because you have 10 other houses underneath the LLC, they're going to be able to come after all of those assets because they're owned by that one LLC. Whereby if you just had, let's say it's 123 Main Street, and you had 123 Main Street own, you had 123 Main Street LLC owning 123 Main Street, and then, all your houses are structured the same way. So 321 Main Street LLC owns 321 Main Street, etc., etc. Then if the house burns down and somebody dies, they can only come after 123 Main Street LLC, right? It only has one house. It's easy to file bankruptcy on that and keep it moving. You just do a structured bankruptcy, and you've protected the rest of your assets. So, understanding that asset segregation strategy and that risk mitigant with corporate structures is extremely important. And that's something we're going to talk about when we get into corporate structure. So you generally want to run a parent company structure, but specifically how you want to design your structure depends on what you're trying to do in real estate, both in the short term and the long term. Because at the end of the day, right, you don't play short-term games in business. You play long-term games. You got to be thinking long-term. And when you build a business, from day one, you're building to scale, right? So you got to build that business to be scalable. And we're going to talk about that. Like, these are things that we're going to talk about in our Sunday talks, right? How you build a business for scale, what you got to be thinking about. You got to be thinking about the next 10, 20, 30 years, right? And you got to be thinking that today. You got to be thinking about it's not where you are, it's where you want to be. And so you got to be, designing your business the whole way through for where you want to be, not necessarily where you are. So that's important. What's the first step to start a business with financial aid? I'm not really sure how financial aid plays into starting a business. Can you clarify that question, please? Bad time to buy property too. Bad time to buy property too. I guess that depends on what type of property you're buying and where you are, right? So I guess what state are you in? What county are you in? What city are you in? What's real estate values in that area? What have real estate values been over the last 24 months? Have real estate values been taking a dip, or have they been running up? Because if real estate values are taking a dip, like, it may not be a bad time to buy real estate at all. It might actually be a good time, because real estate markets are cyclical. So we usually see a market correction every 10 to 15 years. So if you're seeing a dip in the market, right, and it's continuing to dip, you might want to start considering buying real estate. Again, when there's blood on the street, you buy real estate. So I guess that kind of depends on where you are, right, and what's happening in that area. If it's a blighted area, are there any plans for economic development, or what we consider gentrification, right, in the next 5 years, 10 years, right? Because if that's the case, then that might be a good time to be considering, investing in that blighted area, because you're getting the property really cheap. And as they begin to redevelop the area, it's automatically going to drive up your property value. And by driving up your property value, you're going to be able to sell at a profit because you've got equity. You see what I'm saying? So a number of things to consider when you consider that. Let's see. But good comment, ambitious girl. That was a good comment. Should I put $1,000 in a CD to start an LLC first? Have limited budget. Okay, so if you put $1,000 in a CD to start an LLC, right? So you have the CD, that's great. But what are you going to use the CD for? Remember, I told you, using a CD is as a collateral instrument to borrow against. So if you're borrowing against the CD for the benefit of your business, then it comes down to what's your business strategy, because you're going to be putting this money into your business, right? And so you want to make sure that money performs. So you have to make sure you have a solid strategy and a solid execution methodology to be able to drive a return on that money. You see what I'm saying? So putting $1,000 in a CD or to do that is cool, but
it's a collateral instrument. So you're borrowing against it. So whatever you're borrowing against it for, you got to make sure that money performs, because that money costs. It has an interest, and you want to be able to outperform that interest, right? Should I put $1,000 in a CD or start an LLC first? What are you trying to do? You trying to build your credit right now? You trying to repair and build your credit, or are you trying to start a business? If you have bad credit, or you don't have, a strong, credit profile, I would recommend that you go ahead and build your credit profile first, because you're going to need your credit as you begin to start a business. Because one thing about starting a business, when you start a business and that business is doing well, no matter how you cut it, at some point in the life cycle of that business, you're going to need to borrow some money. You're either going to do an equity offering, or you're going to do a debt offering. You're going to go borrow. Either you're going to do an equity offering, you're going to do a debt offering, or you're going to structure a credit facility with a financial institution. Either way, you're going to need some credit. You got to have credit working for you. You got to have that. So if you don't have a strong credit profile, you need to be building that first. I would tell everybody, if you think you want to start a business, start working on your credit first. Get a good credit file. It starts with you. It starts with you. You have good credit, and then when you scale, you can walk in the bank and take a personal loan if you need to. Or you can take a business loan and act as a personal guarantor. Because one thing about it, most businesses aren't profitable in the first 2 years. And if they are, they're not profitable at that level to be able to sustain an interest rate with cash flow on the balance sheet. So that being the case, right, if you want to borrow money, the bank might lend you some money if you got really good credit, because if you're acting as a personal guarantor. When a business is young and it's in its startup phases, they always require a personal guarantor on the retail side. There's no way around that. You have a great business model. You could have a great strategy, a great method of execution, but you don't have a long enough track record. They're going to want a personal guarantor. If you don't have the credit to act as a personal guarantor, your loan's going to get denied simply because your credit is awful. Build your credit first. Always build your credit first. Make sure your FICO score needs to be over 700, and you need to have a good quality credit profile. If you do not, it's not the time to start business. I'm just going to be honest with you. That's my opinion, and that's from being a lender. I've been a lender, so I know what it looks like. And I can tell you that the thing that can kill a business the fastest is not being able to borrow when you need to borrow to be able to scale, or borrowing money via merch cash advance, or borrowing money via your receivables, right? Asset receivable financing, right? Because what happens in that situation is the interest rates are so high that you're actually choking the oxygen from scaling. Yeah, you borrowed some money, but the interest rate on the capture, like they're capturing from if you're doing an asset receivable financing, or a merchant cash advance, in a merchant cash advance, they're capturing from your merchant account. And so they're choking your cash flow. So you still can't breathe. Business needs oxygen. In order for a business to scale, it needs oxygen. So you need the cheapest capital you could possibly get to be able to put that money to work. Because remember, as long as you've got debt out on yourself personally, or if you've got debt out on the business, you're paying interest every single month. So the weighted average cost of capital is increasing. And don't worry, we're going to talk about weighted average cost of capital when we get into lending, right? We're going to talk about, carry cost and weighted average cost of capital. But the weighted average cost of capital increases every month that money's not working for you. You got to put that work, and you need to put that money to work at the cheapest interest rate possible. In order to get the cheapest interest rate possible, you got to have a quality credit profile. You got to have good, and you got to have a decent FICO score. You got to have it. A decent FICO score to me is over 700, period. If it ain't over 700, it's not decent. If you got a 620 mid FICO score, it's garbage. If you got a 680 mid FICO score, it's just above garbage. 7 or better, period. I'm telling you. That's how it works. So when's the class about financial statements going to be? So when I get into, when I start talking about equities, investing in stock, I'm going to talk about the fundamental approach, because I'm a fundamentalist. So I'm going to talk to you about fundamentals, and that's when we're going to talk about, financial statements, and how important financial statements are. So let's see. I've got some questions in the box, so let me get to those. What are high income skills to learn? High income skills to learn. That's a great question. Right now, with the way everything is going with technology and what these businesses are learning how to do automation and learning how to build automation processes for a business, that's a highly needed skill and a highly profitable skill at this point. Learning how to build data management systems like content relationship management systems like Zoho CRM, Salesforce, things like that. That's a high demand skill. That's something that you should be trying to learn how to do, right? Anything that has to do with automating a business's processes is a very important skill to have. That's a well needed skill at this point, especially with the way things are heading. Let's see. First steps to juice a business. Okay, I don't understand what you mean by juice a business, but Anna, if you could clarify what you mean by juicing a business, that would be very helpful for me. I'd be happy to answer that question. I just need a little clarity on what you mean by juicing a business. Sorry, but guys, a call came into my phone. Okay, let's see. So juicing a business, just a clarity on juicing a business, please. Greetings, friend. Greetings, Fred. When forming a nonprofit, can you establish it in another state, like a LLC? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You can form any business in any state. You don't have to form a business in the state that you live in, be it nonprofit, be it for-profit, be it an LLC, a C corporation, LLP, limited partnership, be it any type of structure, like outside of sole proprietorship, of course. But, we're going to talk about that when we talk about corporate structure. Absolutely, you can form in another state for sure. But understand that, from a nonprofit standpoint, it doesn't really matter where you incorporate because there are no true shareholders in a nonprofit organization. We'll get to that when we talk about corporate structure. Let's see. Hey Fred, how are Kickoff and Self? Would you recommend? I'm sorry, I can't opine to those one way or the other. I can't render an opinion on those because I don't have sufficient knowledge of them. But I'll be happy to do some research and get back to you on what I think about Kickoff and Self once I take a look at them. But yeah, I'm sorry, I can't give you an opinion on that because I'm not really familiar with the platforms. So I won't render an opinion on something that I'm not sufficiently familiar with. And that's just honest. But I'll get back to you on that. Send that to me in my DM, Mahogany Butterfly. If you can send that to me in my DM, ask me that question in my DM. And so it'll give me a reminder to do some research on that and get back to you. Let's see. Would paying debts off be faster versus sending letters to raise score quicker? Yeah, so here's the thing about paying off debt, right? So when you pay off debt, you're acknowledging the debt. It still sits in the collection. It just shows that the collection was paid off. It does not benefit your FICO score nearly as much as getting it off your credit. There are no shortcuts to building good credit, right? There's a process. And the fact of the matter is, and how can I say this in a politically correct way? You didn't mess it up overnight. You're not going to fix it overnight, right? So, that's just the truth of the situation. So take the time, to do it the right way. You've got to build solid foundations when you do anything. Like, you can't build a house on shaky foundation. It'll fall apart, right? So, take the time, right? Take the time to do it right. You'll be happier that you did it that way. Let's see. What else? Okay, so are there any other questions that anyone wants to ask? I think I covered all of them that I saw so far. Anything else anyone like to ask? I know I said a lot. I know I was kind of long-winded in some of these responses, but I try to be as detailed as possible. I don't like to leave any rocks unturned. I like to give you a very thorough answer. I'm not one of those guys who just gives you some short, quick answer and then you're like, what? Like, what do you mean? How does that make sense? I like to give you a thorough answer so you're clear on it, right? Any other questions? Anything else anyone wants to ask? Okay, so with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and sign off of here. I appreciate everybody for, coming in, spending a little time with me. You know what I mean? Let me talk to y'all a little bit. I always appreciate when y'all, let me do a little bit of talking and kind of, provide a little guidance and advice. So I appreciate you guys for, lending me your ear, learning, and allowing me to teach you guys some things. As always, how I always say is hashtag get real woke around here. It's hashtag for the free. You know, we always make it make sense. Hashtag make it make sense around here. You know, as I always say, you know, I'm getting better and better at this every time. So, you know, for me, if you get a like, you know what I mean, subscribe, share, follow, you know what I mean? And most definitely tell anybody that you can about all this stuff here that's going on. So that way, you know, I can get as many eyes on this content as I possibly can. And I can continue to help as many people as I possibly can. As I always say, the more eyes see the content, the more people get to benefit from the content. So definitely, you know, do that for me. Like, subscribe, share, follow. You know what I mean? Anyway, y'all, listen, I'm out of here. You know, I'm going to take me a birthday nap. Let's go. Hey. Anyway, y'all enjoy y'all night. Have a great day. Oh, wait, it's Monday. Oh, it's football Monday. Ain't gonna be no birthday nap. It's birthday football. Let's go, baby. Yeah. All right, y'all. Y'all have a great day. I appreciate y'all as always, and I will talk to y'all. If I don't talk to y'all this week, or you know, during this weekday time, I'm gonna definitely talk to y'all on Sunday for sure. We're gonna be covering a brief overview on bank accounts. All right, y'all. Have a great evening.